Danganronpa IF is a light novel you unlock after beating Danganronpa 2. I think this story is fantastic and may be the best reading material in the series. There are some things I haven't read in the series yet, like the novels for Kyoko and Byakuya, but out of the things I've read so far, I think this is the best. It's basically like an alternate route in the story of Danganronpa 1. Makoto gets his memories early, and this leads to him saving Mukuro when she's about to get stabbed by the multiple spears, like Junko planned. If you haven't read it yet, I really hope that you do. I put a spoiler warning earlier, but if you're still here and you haven't read it, please try it out. You might really end up enjoying it, but now let's talk about the story itself. There are a lot of writing choices I really like here. I like how this isn't a story that focuses solely on Mukuro. Other characters have their place in this novel, and I want to talk about how some of them make the story more interesting. We'll start with Makoto. Makoto is interesting because he's the only one other than Junko and Mukuro who has his memories. From his memories, we get interesting conversations. He says he believes Mukuro and Junko can become better people and redeem themselves. Makoto is a weird guy. Even if someone does something really bad, he tries to give them second chances. When Junko was about to execute herself in the first game, Makoto was the only one who attempted to stop her. In chapter 6, he also said that it felt sad to leave Mukuro's corpse out in the open when he was in the biolab, knowing full well that Mukuro was his enemy. It was interesting that the novel was built off moments in the actual game like this. I also found it to be an interesting read when Makoto revealed how he remembered things about the other students. Like when Makoto revealed that he believes Kenshiro is completely fine. Sakura is stunned, and that's really fun to see because from her perspective, Makoto shouldn't know that at all. The memory loss in general is used really well. It's amazing to see moments such as when Chihiro's shocked that the program he was making was already being used within the Monokumas, and the same goes for when Hifumi's shocked that Makoto knows about the manga he's already written. Another way I think the novel uses the game to its full advantage is through small details like the photos. In the photos at the end of chapter 6, Junko reveals that Mukuro only paid attention when Makoto was taking the photos, and it's just awesome how the writer can call back to tiny details like that. Sayaka is another character that is written in a very interesting way. I love the scene where Monokuma confronts Sayaka and asks her why she went to Makoto's room. He clearly realizes why, and it was awesome seeing Sayaka panic as she realized that he understood her plan as well. I also like how she made it a goal to tell Leon, Makoto, and everyone else about what she was planning to do after they escaped, even if that was a disadvantage for her. She could easily sweep the incident under the rug, but she realized her mistake and decided to change. I also like how Kyoko is used. We get to see how she makes her deductions, which is really fun, and it's always something I wanted to see after playing the first game. She also foreshadows V3. It's honestly crazy how many times the V3 plot is mentioned in this series before V3 even happened. The last character I want to talk about is Junko. More specifically, I like how her ability is used. Junko has the ability to make correct predictions through analysis. That being said, her powers can go up to a ridiculous level. Danganronpa 3 takes this to another level where she essentially feels unbeatable. I don't like how overpowered Junko is, and I think Danganronpa IF used her ability the best. She's still able to analyze many situations. She can predict what her classmates are gonna do because she knows them well for the past 2 years. That being said, she's not some unbeatable force. The smallest miscalculations can lead her to being fooled, and that's what happens in Danganronpa IF. In Danganronpa 3, Junko feels like an unbeatable force, but in Danganronpa IF, she just feels like a smart person who can fail because no one is perfect. I also liked how Toko is used. A question I had about Mukuro's death scene in Danganronpa 1 is answered here. Why doesn't Toko faint? The novel does describe that she sees the blood, but she tries her very best to avoid looking at it, so I guess she can avoid fainting for a little while. Still, I think DR1 should have brought more attention to that, but I also like how Genocide Jack is used. Genocide Jack reveals the memory loss plot point early since it's mentioned, and it's cool how Mukuro uses Genocide Jack to fight against Sakura. We obviously have Mukuro, who is the most built up character, and I do think that making Mukuro the protagonist was a good idea because she's easily the least developed in DR1. I do think it's interesting seeing her conflict between choosing Junko and her other classmates as the story unfolds. Does this story make Mukuro one of the best characters? In my opinion, no. She still has a limited amount of interactions with the cast due to the story being a short one, but I do think it makes her character better nonetheless. As for the other characters, they mostly have minor roles, but none of them feel like they're excluded from the story. They're still enjoyable and make the story constantly fun to read. I think one of the biggest strong points of Danganronpa IF was the fact that I was always engaged. It never made me bored. For some reason, I've always found books to be boring. I know that's weird coming from someone who does like visual novels, but I've always struggled to read books that were only filled with text. I'd always have to reread things because I'd blank out after reading for a while, and I'd get easily tired after reading for a short period of time. In Danganronpa IF, you don't have character sprites or anything like that, but I still found it to be an engaging read. You still do have music and a background, but still I found it impressive that it could keep my attention with those things alone. Recently I tried reading Danganronpa 0, and I was planning to make a review on that, but I just got really bored reading it. I don't want to say it's a bad novel because I realize that this may just be a personal problem, but I'm glad that Danganronpa IF can keep my attention for its entire run. Well, that'll be it for today. Next time, we're gonna review Danganronpa Killer Killer. And yeah, you'll see my thoughts on that. It's not gonna be good, but I think that's kind of expected. So yeah, see you all then.